Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Stephen Cain. I help people with peripheral neuropathy get out of pain and back to doing the things that they love doing. One of the ways I help you do it is by connecting you with the right people, products, and services that can all help you get better. And today we are very lucky to be joined by Eric Taylor. He has one of the coolest stories I've ever heard about someone who suffered from neuropathy and got themselves a lot better. So thank you very much for joining us, Eric.
You're welcome. Glad
Right
to be
on.
here.
Yeah, so let's jump right into it. If you can tell people your story about how you initially started suffering from neuropathy and what you did to get yourself better.
Okay. Well, it was probably about 5 years ago. My feet, I always realized my feet were cold all the time. And I wasn't too concerned about it. I thought, kind of overlooked it, but then it became all of a sudden a quick onset of pain and tingling and numbness and things like that. So I got concerned, and then I went to the doctor, and they sent me to the specialist, the neurologist, and the same old thing. You get jumped around to the podiatrist, and I got diagnosed with what they call idiopathic peripheral neuropathy. So at that point, I realized, you're at a point where you don't really know what to do, or what happened or why, because I don't I had no idea what was going on. It was also new to me. So just started doing research on my own. All the doctors wanted to keep giving me the gabapentin and the Lyricas and those type of things, and I wasn't willing to take those. I researched all the side effects of those, and so I went on a mission to figure out what happened. First off, I wanted to know why I got it, how I got it. So I just looked back at my life for the last 15 years, and I had gained over 100 pounds. My eating habits were absolutely terrible. I drank coffee all day, probably a gallon of coffee. And at 3 o'clock, I would eat carbs all night, and my triglycerides were over 500, 535 actually. So I realized what I'd been kind of doing to myself, and I realized that sugar and lifestyle has a lot to do with your nerves. So I started my philosophy is what I thought had happened to get it, I was just going to reverse it. So I started taking out all the things that I did that I thought had caused it, and completely turned everything around. And I realized it took a long time to get like that, so I had to be patient. There's going to be some time, to get out of it. So I stayed faithful and bought a bicycle. Well, actually, a little bit more than that. I wanted to choose a big task to take on to force me to get to a level that I wouldn't have gotten to just by trying it by myself. So I was going to do I used to do triathlons back in my 20s, so I was going to come out of my retirement, so to say, and do an Ironman triathlon. I figured that would get me to be where I need to be by all the training and stuff. Well, I bought the shoes, I bought the swim cap, bought the bike, started swimming a little bit, but I couldn't run because of my feet. So the biking came easy to me. I've always been a strong biker, so I just said I'll just stick with the biking for right now, and I ended up cycling over 13,000 miles in 2017.
Wow.
Lost 90 pounds, cleaned my diet up, and things started to get a lot better just in general by losing the weight and not carrying all that weight on my feet. And, my triglycerides went down to 114. I completely eliminated basically all sugars out of my diet, all whites, all pastas. My carbs were cleaned up down to basically as they are today, just oatmeal and rice. That's my carb source. And I only use the carbs at certain times too, just before my workouts. I don't have them sitting around my body at other times. But anyway, to kind of shorten the story up, losing the 90 pounds and getting into fitness is what brought me back to, I guess you could say, a functioning lifestyle. Actually, it's highly functioning now.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're at the complete opposite. It looks like
Yeah.
you went
Yeah.
from, yeah, you're obese, you were, unhealthy, you had neuropathy, and so you went from doing the extreme bicycling, and then you shifted into, is it the fitness competitions?
Yeah. I met a gal, um, and she was doing these contests. I guess they're more like shows. They're competitions actually, and Debbie's 54. She's my age, and so I kind of started dating her, and then I was going to her shows. And I said, "Wow, this is something I'd really like to try." Because I went to her show and I helped her out. There's a lot that goes into these things. It's a big long prep, and you get down to extreme body, low fats percentages, and things like that. And talk about cleaning up a diet. My gosh, you clean your diet way up. So I said, "Oh, this can only be better for me," and so I did it. And wow, I went down to 5% body fat. I got even lower. I was lean. And so I did very well. I went to Las Vegas. I got fourth place in the big show. Um, I'd done a little show before that. I got second in, but it doesn't really matter the placement. Just the fact that I was on stage was a win. Was a win for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and getting to be able to get myself in that condition. And I'm actually getting ready for another one here in April over in Reno. So it's kind of a lifestyle I've chosen to keep at and keep after doing, because I don't want to say force is the right word, but it makes, when you're on a prep and you've got, like I said, when you have a date and you have to meet a deadline, you don't have those, well, I'll just have a little cheat here or a little snack there, because I'm a firm believer of that in blood sugar and circulation, and diet has a lot to do with the idiopathic neuropathies and the diabetic ones. Blood sugar and nerves I have found have a big connection.
Yeah, absolutely. I've found the same thing as well. And I just think that the thing about your story that's so cool is that not only did you get yourself better, but what you're probably, stronger and more fit now than maybe you ever
Yeah,
been in your entire life. And you're in you're 55 going on 56.
that's correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
I mean,
is,
yeah. I
yeah.
had trouble tying my shoes. I hate to admit it, but I did. I was hurting. And it starts to mess with your mind too, because you're overweight, your flexibility's down, you're eating whatever. So when you eat bad, you feel bad. Figure of speech, um, but I tell you, when you clean it and turn it, you got to just trust the process of turning it around, because it doesn't happen overnight. And a lot of people, I could see where it'd be easy, for me, it was like, is this really going to work? And I remember on the bike, it would rain, it'd get windy. I just forced myself to go out, because I didn't want to start getting in the habit of coming up with excuses, and going back to, I was not going to go back to where I was going, where I came from, put it that
Right.
way.
Yeah.
Never
So,
will. Never will.
yeah, but
It's a lifestyle now.
yeah. So it sounds like you got the bit of an all or nothing mentality.
I do. I've always had that. It's good if you control it and put it in the right direction. It's really good.
Right.
But so I use that to my advantage for this. Yeah, because some people, I wish I could be like that. I'm just not. Some people could just regulate themselves and go to the gym and be more on a track. I would find myself with my personality kind of. I don't know if cheating is the right word, but I would. You kind of get a little bit lackadaisical on your plan.
Yeah.
And once a day is gone, I learned once a day is gone, it's gone. I mean, you can't do two things tomorrow to make up for the one thing you didn't do that day. And so I just, it took me a while to get all this figured out. But once I did, it wasn't even a mindset anymore. I mean, it was a mindset. It wasn't even like I said, on the bicycle, if it rained, I just put on rain gear and went out. If it was wet, I was going. I was not going to change my direction of where I was heading.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. Very cool. So in terms of your neuropathy, could
Yeah.
you walk us through like how much you got better, how long it took to get better, what it was like before, and what it's like
Yeah.
now?
Yeah. Well, I have it still. I mean, it's more if we get to the point. I mean, I always think I call myself, I'm always continually trying to reverse it. I'm a firm believer nerves can regrow under the right conditions. Um, it takes a long time. It took a long time to get this. It's going to take a long time to get, better. And I've been dealing with this I got on it right away though, pretty much, because I'm that kind of person. I knew something was wrong. I was going to all the doctors, and I don't want to put the doctors down or discount them or like that, but I wasn't getting the answers I wanted. So it was kind of generic information coming back to me that I could have read in it, that I could read up on. So I went pretty deep in my research and found out that a lot of it, is centered around circulation and, getting good nutrients down to your lower extremities. I went in and had a test done to make sure my blood pressure was the same in my feet as it was in my arms, because some people have problems as the blood pressure gets down towards their feet, it drops. They have less circulations. I was blessed to have that be the same. So that's one of my goals, is to keep that going. I have my own little formulas I use that I believe work for circulation. I've made some teas, and I've got, I use niacin, and I have some things that I open up my capillaries with. But and then of course the standard B vitamins and the certain ones that they use that they help with the nerves. I watch my diet really carefully. You have to avoid trigger things, and basically, I think everybody's different. They're going to get different experiences, but a lot, in my opinion, a lot of the, if you can get rid of the flours, the sugars, the glutens, and all those kind of things, you will find that you really start to lean out. I mean, if you can get lean, your body gets a whole different experience.
Yeah.
Your body wants to heal itself. It wants to heal, so you just got to get it the right, right in the right arena.
Yeah. Yeah, beautifully said. So in terms of the improvement from your neuropathy, would you say it's like 50, 75% better from where it was?
I would probably say from its worst, it's probably well over 60 to 70% better.
Okay.
There's sometimes if I really work at it, it takes discipline. I can get it. I can really get it to be really good. And that means you got to sleep right. You got to do the water right. You've got to, get all your meals in the right time. Because your body, it reacts. And so, especially when you have a disorder like this. So, if you've got some discipline and some high maintenance, you can really, I do almost everything I can do before, like when I was younger, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I still have I get my pains and stuff like that, but I don't want to say learn to live with it, but I'd rather live with it. I'm not going to do the drug things.
Yeah.
I understand that there's a purpose for them, and I get that, but I wasn't willing to go down that road.
Yeah. Yeah, fabulous. So of all the different things that you've done, it sounds like you've done all these different nutritional approaches, lots of different exercise approaches and supplements and teas, of all the different things that you've tried out. Do you feel like they were all relatively equal? They all played equal important roles? Do you think there were particular aspects of the lifestyle that really paid good dividends?
Yeah, I get it. The main thing is to get the weight off, and get your flexibility back. When I had my first aha moment was when I used to change the water cooler, the 5-gallon jug in the top. And I remember picking that up one time, and I did a calculation that water weighs about 8 pounds a gallon. So that was about a 40-pound lift. And I remember I would pick those up and carry them in, like when they did a delivery, I'd carry them into the garage. And I set those down, and I said, wow, they were heavy and my body hurt. And I set those down and I said, that's just 80 pounds that I was carrying around, one in each hand. And when I got down to the point that at the 40-pound mark, I realized that I was carrying one less Alhambra water bottle around with me on a daily basis. Uh-huh. So I said, I'm gonna do a second one. So I did. I went for the next 40 pounds. And as I kept getting lighter, the less weight on my feet, because, your feet is where the neuropathy usually transcends to. So having all that weight lifted off your shoulders, so to speak, terminology, just completely took it to a much lesser pain level. That was the main thing, was getting the weight off my body and the flexibility as far as, being less, being fit,
right,
and being active and getting the exercising and getting all getting your body going again, because you kind of get. I was pretty bad. I would come home from work and just lay on the couch all night.
Right, right. So,
Yeah,
so you initially lose about 90 pounds or so. You're doing a lot of the biking, and then
yeah,
I take it after that. Just looking at you now, I mean, it looks like you got a decent amount of muscle mass on you that I'm sure
yeah.
weighs a good amount. When you were putting on the muscle and you had that extra weight coming back on your body, back on your feet, did that create any additional tension or stress in the feet, or?
It's funny. I picked up on that because I went when I did the show. Part of the thing, you get a coach, and the first thing you do is you put on muscle, and then you cut down. That's how that works. So I went up to 242, but it was a lot of it was like, like you said, muscle mass. And now I've cut back down. I'm 25 pounds off of that. I'm going to take another 25 pounds off by April 13th.
Mm-hmm.
So once I get done with this show, we've decided, Debbie and I, we're just going to kind of maintain that lower body weight.
Okay.
Yeah, because this was a one-time I'm going to come back up thing, and I'm glad you brought that up because I immediately you picked back up on the weight thing.
Okay. Okay, so
Yeah.
that lighter, when you get closer to 200, maybe a little under, that's when you
Yeah.
feel the best for the
Yeah.
neuropathy.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was on show weight. My show weight was 205.8. So
Okay.
200 pounds for me is going to be ideal. It's going to be, you're going to have to work at it. It forces you to live a lifestyle of eating super clean,
Mm-hmm.
exercising. I exercise every day, but even if you were to exercise 3 to 5 days a week, just getting out there and staying active and eating and getting, good supplementation and the vitamins and things like that, it will turn your life around. It can.
Yeah, yeah, and that's one of the things I just really love about your stories. It not only did you, make significant, profound improvements in your neuropathy, but just the overall. I mean, just your look. I assume that just the way that you feel, it's your life as a whole was turned around, not just the neuropathy. So that's
Yeah.
what I hope other people, listen to your story, can get inspired to, and
Cool.
make
Me too.
those kind of shifts too. So, right on. Well, thank you very much for sharing your story. Is there anything else you want to leave the viewers with?
No, just the fact that you get in those modes where you start to, I don't want to say give up, but you start to get mentally challenged as to, oh my gosh, is this the way it's going to be the rest of my life? And there's no hope because last thing you need to do is Google stuff because it'll get you in trouble.
Right.
Do your research. Everybody kind of gets it a little different way. I think a lot of it is, from my experience, from talking to people and being around it, and all the groups and stuff, is, a lot of them get diabetic too. It's diet. They let we all let our, not, I should say we can let ourselves go, generically speaking, and get to that point. If you're there long enough, for my fact, mine was just nutrition and lack of circulation and just, I think my body composition is sensitive to the sugars and things like that anyway because of my triglycerides testing so high for so long there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm contributing to a lot of that because that's the only thing that actually made sense to me. And then when I reversed it and completely took all sugar out, all flour out, I'd say more or less a paleo diet for a while. Just lean meats and vegetables and lots of water and vitamins. And it took a long time, but I started to see, I started feeling a lot better. And then I went and had my blood work done. And when I found out my triglycerides were almost down to 100, I was like, oh my gosh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's a 80% reduction in triglycerides.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a fabulous turnaround.
So yeah, I guess just to leave it on a positive note is it can get better. You just got to believe it, and you got to trust the process and get involved. And you're going to have your bad days, and you just got to push through them.
Yeah, fabulous, Eric. And where can people find you online, on social media, if they want to hear more from you?
I'm on Instagram under Eric the Norwegian Viking.
Eric the Norwegian Viking. Okay.
Yeah, ERIC the Norwegian Viking. You'll see me. You'll see all my show pictures and stuff there. And
Okay.
actually, you can see my before and after pictures.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, we can put a link for that in the description for the video as well. So
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. Yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us in the interview here, Eric, and thank you very much for sharing your story. Hopefully, some of the viewers
Absolutely.
here, run with it and get inspired. And as Eric said, continue to educate yourself, and that's one of the key things. Apply it, work hard, and I think good things can happen. So do hit the subscribe button if you want to be updated with future videos. And thanks again for watching, everyone. And let's all have ourselves a wonderful day and not have any flour or sugar today.
Right on. All right. Take care.
All right. Thanks again, Eric.
Always. Bye.